Amara Wilson's sneakers squeaked against the polished floor of JFK Airport's Terminal 4, each step echoing her urgency. The 26-year-old black nurse clutched her phone, squinting at the boarding pass displayed on the cracked screen. "Gate 23B," she muttered, her voice barely audible over the hum of travelers and announcements. It was 6:45 a.m., and her flight to Atlantic City was boarding in 15 minutes. After a grueling 12-hour night shift in the ICU at City General Hospital, Amara's body ached, and her eyes burned from exhaustion. But this was her first vacation in 3 years. A weekend getaway with her friend Keisha, a rare chance to escape the relentless cycle of work and responsibility. Since losing her parents in a car accident 2 years ago, Amara's life had become a blur of hospital shifts, bills, and caring for her 18-year-old brother Jamal. At 26, she felt decades older, her dreams of travel and further education buried under the weight of keeping their small New Jersey apartment and supporting Jamal's college aspirations. She'd barely made it home to shower and grab her pre-packed backpack before racing to the airport, her damp braids tucked under a faded baseball cap. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. "Where are you at?" "They're boarding." Amara's fingers fumbled a reply. Almost there, though the sea of signs and people made her doubt she was close to anywhere. Her shift had ended with a critical patient, a young woman fighting for breath, and Amara had stayed an extra hour to stabilize her, earning a grateful nod from the morning staff. Moments like that, helping someone through their worst day, kept her going, even if it meant missing sleep. Now, with only 2 hours of rest, her vision blurred as she navigated the terminal, the fluorescent lights harsh against her tired eyes. She turned a corner, spotting a small crowd near a doorway marked Private Aviation Terminal. The sign didn't match her boarding pass, but exhaustion dulled her judgment. This must be it, she thought, her mind too foggy to question further. A woman in a crisp navy uniform smiled as Amara approached. "Miss Carter? We've been expecting you," she said, her tone polished and warm. Amara opened her mouth to correct her. She was Amara Wilson, not Carter, but a second staff member appeared, gesturing toward a sleek walkway. "We're ready for boarding, Miss Carter. Mr. Brooks is already on board." Confusion knotted Amara's stomach. "Mr. Brooks?" Before she could form a coherent question, her backpack was gently taken, and she was guided down the walkway toward an aircraft that gleamed like something from a movie, nothing like the budget planes she was used to. "Wait, I think there's a mistake," Amara managed, her voice hoarse from fatigue. Unfazed, the flight attendant returned her backpack with a reassuring smile. "No worries, Miss Carter. Mr. Brooks said you might be running late. He's very understanding." Amara's protests stalled as she stepped into the jet's interior. Cream leather seats, polished wood paneling, and a fully stocked bar greeted her, a world so far removed from her cramped apartment that she froze. This was not her flight to Atlantic City. A man sat near a window, his back to her, his posture relaxed yet commanding. As the jet's door closed with a pressurized whoosh, he turned. Amara's tired brain registered him in fragments. White, around 30, with sharp blue eyes and a tailored suit that likely cost more than her monthly rent. His sandy hair was neatly styled, and his presence filled the space with an effortless authority. His eyes widened briefly as he saw her, then narrowed in curiosity. He said, "You're not Vanessa Carter," his voice calm but confident, not a question. Amara clutched her phone, her lifeline to reality. "No, I'm Amara Wilson, and I'm on the wrong plane." Her heart raced as the engines hummed to life, the floor vibrating beneath her feet. The man's serious expression softened, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "It would seem so. I'm Nathan Brooks." He gestured to the window, where the ground crew was already retreating. "I'm afraid we're cleared for takeoff." Amara sank into the plush seat opposite him, her legs unsteady. I need to get off. I'm supposed to be in Atlantic City with my friend. Nathan leaned back, studying her with an intensity that made her hyper-aware of her worn scrubs and scuffed sneakers. We're headed to Paris. France, he said. Amara's breath caught. Paris? As in France? Her voice rose, disbelief sharp in her tone. Nathan nodded, his smile growing. You did get on the wrong plane, didn't you? Panic surged, but so did a flicker of something else. Perhaps intrigue at the absurdity of it all. Amara checked her backpack and found her passport tucked inside, a relic from a college trip to Toronto. The staff thought you were my companion for the trip, Nathan explained, choosing his words carefully. Vanessa Carter is someone I occasionally travel with. It seems she's been replaced. His tone was light, but his eyes held a question, as if weighing whether to send her back or let this unexpected moment unfold. Amara's mind spun. She was a nurse, not a model or socialite, and certainly not someone who belonged on a billionaire's jet. Yet here she was, thousands of feet from her responsibilities, with a man who seemed more curious than annoyed by her presence. The plane gained speed, and the reality of her situation hit like a wave. She was bound for Paris, with no idea what lay ahead. The hum of the private jet's engines filled the cabin, a steady reminder of Amara Wilson's surreal predicament. She sat rigid in the cream leather seat, her worn backpack clutched like a shield against the opulence surrounding her. Across from her, Nathan Brooks leaned back, his sharp blue eyes studying her with amusement and curiosity. The polished wood paneling and gleaming bar reflected a world so far from her modest New Jersey apartment that Amara felt like an intruder in a dream. Her phone is still open to Keisha's frantic text. "Where are you at?" Vibrated again, but she silenced it, too overwhelmed to respond. She was on a plane to Paris, France, with a stranger who radiated wealth and confidence, and the reality of her mistake was sinking in. "I'm so sorry," Amara said, her voice tight. "I didn't mean to. I thought this was my gate. I'll get off as soon as we land, I promise." Nathan raised a hand, his smile disarming. "No need to apologize. This is the most interesting thing that's happened to me in months." His tone was light, but there was a weight behind his words, a flicker of something raw in his expression. Amara's panic eased slightly, though her mind raced. "You're not upset? I mean, I'm not supposed to be here." Nathan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his tailored suit creasing slightly. "Honestly, I'm intrigued. You're not Vanessa Carter, but you're here, and I'd like to know why the universe decided to put a nurse on my plane." His directness caught her off guard, and she laughed, a slight nervous sound that broke the tension. "I'm Amara Wilson," she said, extending a hesitant hand. His grip was firm, warm, and lingered longer than necessary. "Nathan Brooks. Welcome aboard, Amara." The jet climbed higher, the world outside the window dissolving into clouds. Amara's heart pounded, not just from the altitude, but from the absurdity of it all. She glanced at her backpack, reassuring herself that her passport was tucked inside. "So, Paris," she said, testing the word. "Why Paris?" Nathan's smile faded slightly, his gaze drifting to the window. A change of scenery. "I've been drifting since I lost someone close to me. Paris seemed as good a place as any to clear my head." Amara recognized the shadow in his voice. Grief. The kind she'd seen in patients' families, in her mirror after her parents' accident. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "Who was it?" Nathan hesitated, then met her eyes. "Eric is my best friend and business partner. He died in a climbing accident last year. We built Brooks Tech together. Without him, it's like the ground's gone out from under me. His honesty surprised her, raw and unguarded, as if he hadn't meant to say so much. She nodded, understanding too well. I lost my parents 2 years ago. Car accident. It changes everything. Their eyes locked, a silent acknowledgement of shared pain. Nathan's shoulders relaxed, as if her words had lifted a weight. It does. I've been running from it, traveling, keeping busy, but it follows you. Amara's fingers tightened around her phone. For me, it's been work, and taking care of my brother, Jamal. He's 18, trying to get into college, and I'm all he's got. It's why this trip to Atlantic City was such a big deal. First time I've done something for myself in forever. Nathan tilted his head, genuinely curious. Tell me about your work. You said you're a nurse? Amara hesitated, then found herself talking, the words spilling out in the strange intimacy of the jet's cabin. I work in the ICU at City General, where there are long shifts and high stakes. You see people at their worst, and sometimes you can't save them. But when you can, it's like you've given them a second chance. She paused, thinking of the patient she'd stayed late for that morning. It's exhausting, but it's who I am. Nathan listened, his intensity making her feel like her words mattered. That's real work, he said. I spend my days in boardrooms, arguing over contracts. It's not saving lives. Amara smiled faintly. Someone's got to keep the tech world spinning. What does Brooks Tech do? He chuckled, a low, warm sound. Security software mostly, keeping data safe. Eric was the genius behind the code. I'm just ensuring it sells. Their conversation flowed, tentative at first, then easier, as if the jet's isolation created a bubble where they could be honest. Amara shared how she'd become Jamal's guardian overnight, juggling bills and his dreams of becoming a doctor. Nathan spoke of Eric's infectious optimism, how they'd coded their first software in a cramped MIT dorm, dreaming of changing the world. The parallels, loss, responsibility, searching for meaning, wove an unexpected thread between them. The flight attendant appeared with a tray of sandwiches and sparkling water, the food far fancier than anything Amara had eaten in weeks. She took a bite, realizing how hungry she was, and Nathan motioned for her to help herself. You're not what I expected, he said, watching her. Most people would be freaking out or taking selfies in a jet like this. Amara laughed, shaking her head. I'm too tired to freak out. And selfies aren't my thing. Besides, I'm still trying to figure out how I got past your security. Nathan's eyes sparkled with amusement. That's a good question. My team's supposed to be top-notch, but you just walked right through. Maybe you're a secret agent. Amara snorted, the sound unladylike but genuine. Yeah, right. Secret agent nurse, reporting for duty. Their laughter filled the cabin, a brief respite from the weight of their earlier words. As the hours passed, Amara's exhaustion caught up with her. Her eyelids grew heavy, the soft hum of the jet lulling her. You should rest, Nathan said, noticing her struggle. We've got a few hours before we land. Amara shook her head weakly. I can't just sleep on a stranger's plane. Nathan's smile was gentle. We're not strangers anymore, Amara. And I promise to be a perfect gentleman. There was a sincerity in his voice that made her trust him, despite every logical reason not to. She leaned back, the seat more comfortable than her bed. Just a short nap, she mumbled, her eyes closing. As she drifted off, she felt a soft blanket settle over her, a quiet gesture that warmed her more than it should have. In that moment, high above the Atlantic, Amara wondered if this mistake, boarding the wrong plane, might be leading her somewhere she was meant to be. The private jet hummed steadily, its engines a soft undercurrent to the quiet intimacy growing between Amara Wilson and Nathan Brooks. Amara sat nestled in the plush leather seat, her worn backpack stowed beside her, a stark reminder of the life she'd left behind in New Jersey. Across from her, Nathan sipped a glass of sparkling water, his sharp blue eyes catching hers with an intensity that made her heart skip. The cabin's opulence, polished wood, soft lighting, a bar stocked with bottles she couldn't pronounce, felt like a stage set for someone else's life, not hers. Yet Nathan's easy demeanor and genuine curiosity made the surreal setting feel almost natural. Amara's phone buzzed again, and Keisha's third text in an hour was, "Girl, you okay? Call me." Guilt tugged at her, but she muted the phone, unable to explain her accidental detour to Paris while still grappling with it herself. Nathan noticed her unease. "Your friend?" he asked, nodding toward the phone. Amara sighed, tucking a braid behind her ear. "Yeah, Keisha. We were supposed to spend the weekend in Atlantic City. She's probably freaking out." Nathan leaned forward, his suit jacket discarded, revealing a crisp white shirt that hinted at a life of tailored perfection. "You should call her when we land. Let her know you're safe." Amara nodded, grateful for his concern, but overwhelmed by the situation. "I still can't believe I'm here," she admitted. "I mean, I'm a nurse. I don't end up on private jets with—" She trailed off, unsure how to describe him. "Tech CEOs," Nathan supplied, a playful glint in his eyes. "Stranded nurses are a new experience for me, too." His light tone eased her nerves, and she smiled despite the chaos. "So, Amara," he continued, "tell me more about your life. What's it like being a nurse?" The question caught her off guard, but his genuine interest drew her in. "It's intense," she began, her voice softening as she spoke. "In the ICU, every shift is a marathon. You're monitoring patients who might not make it through the night, making split-second decisions, comforting families when things go wrong. But it's everything when you help someone pull through, like this woman. I stayed late today. You feel like you've made a difference." Nathan listened, his gaze unwavering, as if her words were painting a world he'd never seen. "That's incredible," he said quietly. "I've never done anything that meaningful." Amara tilted her head, curious. "You run a company. That's a big deal." Nathan's smile was bittersweet. "Brooks Tech keeps systems secure, sure, but it's not the same as saving lives. Eric, my friend, he was the heart of it. He envisioned using tech to protect people, not just data. I'm just the guy who made it profitable." The mention of Eric brought a shadow to his face, and Amara recognized the grief she'd carried since her parents' accident. "What was he like?" she asked gently. Nathan's eyes softened, distant with memory. Eric was fearless. Back at MIT, we'd stay up all night coding, fueled by cheap coffee and big ideas. He'd talk about making the world safer, one algorithm at a time. We built our first software in his dorm, a clunky thing that barely worked, but he never doubted we'd make it. He paused, his jaw tightening. "Last year, we planned a climbing trip in Colorado, our annual reset. I bailed for a meeting. He went alone and didn't come back. A fall, they said. I keep thinking if I'd been there." Amara's chest ached, the guilt in his voice echoing her own. "I get it," she said. "After my parents died, I kept replaying that weekend. I was working an extra shift, thinking I'd see them later. Then they were gone. You torture yourself with what-ifs, but it doesn't change anything." Nathan met her gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. "How do you keep going?" he asked. Amara shrugged, a small smile tugging at her lips. "My brother, Jamal. He's got dreams, wants to be a doctor. I can't let him down." Nathan nodded, impressed. "He's lucky to have you." Amara laughed softly. "He'd say I'm overprotective. He's 18, trying to find his way, but I'm still paying the bills, keeping the lights on. She paused, surprised at how easy it was to share this with him. What about you? What keeps you going? Nathan leaned back, considering. Lately, not much. After Eric, I've been running on autopilot, traveling, meetings, trying to outrun the emptiness. But talking to you, it's the first time in a while I've felt present. His words sent a warmth through her and a flicker of unease. This connection, so quick and intense, felt dangerous. She was a nurse with a life of hospital shifts and budget constraints. He was a man who owned a jet. The gap between their worlds loomed, and she wondered if she'd be seen as an outsider in his world, someone who didn't belong. Yet, his openness, the way he listened, made her want to stay in this moment. The flight attendant appeared, offering a tray of fresh fruit and pastries. Amara took a croissant, its buttery scent reminding her how little she'd eaten. Nathan watched her, a smile playing on his lips. "You're handling this better than most would," he said. "Most people would demand answers or snap photos of the jet." Amara chuckled, brushing crumbs from her scrubs. "I'm too tired for that. And honestly, I'm still processing how I got here. Your security team needs a refresher." Nathan laughed, a genuine sound that lit up his face. "You walked right through $1 million system. You may have a hidden talent for infiltration." Amara grinned, the banter easing her nerves. Only if tripping into the wrong terminal counts as a talent. Their laughter filled the cabin, a fleeting escape from the weight of their earlier words. As the flight continued, Amara felt her eyelids grow heavy. The jet's hum, the soft seat, and Nathan's quiet presence were lulling her toward sleep. "You should rest," he said, noticing her struggle. "We've got hours before Paris." Amara shook her head, fighting a yawn. "I can't just nap on some guy's plane." Nathan's smile was warm and reassuring. "Not some guy. Nathan. And I'll keep watch. I promise." His sincerity disarmed her, and she felt an unexpected trust settle in. "Okay, just a few minutes," she conceded, leaning back. Nathan draped a soft blanket over her, his fingers brushing her shoulder lightly. Amara felt a strange mix of comfort and apprehension as her eyes closed. She was soaring toward an unknown destination with a man she'd just met, yet their shared stories of loss and purpose made her feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. The jet carried her toward Paris, but the connection forming in this cabin felt like the real journey. The private jet descended smoothly, its engines a soft hum as Paris emerged below, a tapestry of lights twinkling against the dusk. Amara Wilson pressed her face to the window, her breath catching at seeing the city she'd only seen in photos and dreams. The Eiffel Tower glowed in the distance, a beacon of elegance, while the Seine reflected the golden hues of streetlights. She was thousands of miles from her New Jersey apartment, hospital shifts, and brother Jamal. Yet the reality of her accidental journey felt like a dream she hadn't dared to imagine. Nathan Brooks sat across from her, his blue eyes softened by the cabin's dim lighting. He'd been working on a sleek laptop, but closed it as the plane neared Charles de Gaulle Airport. "First time in Paris?" he asked, his voice warm with curiosity. Amara nodded, her fingers tightening around her backpack's strap. "First time anywhere, really, except a college trip to Toronto. This is overwhelming." Her voice held a mix of awe and unease, the opulence of the jet, a constant reminder of how out of place she felt. The plane taxied to a private terminal, and Nathan stood, offering a reassuring smile. "We'll be escorted through. No customs lines, just a quick process." Amara's brow furrowed. "Is that even legal?" Nathan chuckled, his ease disarming. "Perfectly. Just a perk of private travel." As they disembarked, a sleek black car waited on the tarmac, driven by a middle-aged Frenchman named Michel, who greeted Nathan with a nod and Amara with a curious glance. She clutched her backpack, her worn scrubs contrasting with the polished surroundings, feeling like an imposter in Nathan's world. In the car, Nathan turned to her. "I can arrange a flight back to New York tonight. Get you to Atlantic City by morning." His offer was kind, but his eyes held a quiet hope she'd stay. Amara's heart tugged in two directions. Her practical side screamed to return to Jamal, her job, and the life she'd built on stability and sacrifice. Keisha was probably frantic, and Jamal would need her to check in with their aunt, who was watching him. But Paris, with its shimmering promise, whispered of a chance to live for herself, even if just for a moment. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've got responsibilities. My brother, my job. My next shift's Monday evening, and I can't just—" She trailed off, her gaze drifting to the city lights flashing by. Nathan leaned closer, his presence steadying. "You've got a couple of days. Why not stay one night? See Paris. I'll make sure you're comfortable. Separate room, no pressure." His sincerity chipped away at her defenses, but a more profound fear lingered. Would she be judged as a nurse with a working-class life in his elite world? Would people see her as an outsider, a curiosity? She pulled out her phone, rereading Keisha's texts. "You better not be ghosting me. And call me, girl." Guilt gnawed at her, but she typed a quick reply. "Safe, but on the wrong plane. In Paris. We'll call soon." Then she dialed Jamal, who answered on the second ring. "Amara, where are you? Keisha's blowing up my phone." His voice was a mix of worry and teenage exasperation. "I'm okay," she said, glancing at Nathan, who had stepped to the car's other side to give her privacy. "I got on the wrong plane. I'm in Paris, France." The silence on the other end stretched so long, she thought they'd disconnected. "Paris? For real?" Jamal's tone shifted to awe. "How do you even do that by accident?" Amara sighed, a half-smile forming. "Long story. I'm considering staying one night, but only if you're okay with Aunt Lena." Jamal scoffed. "I'm fine. Aunt Lena's got me covered. You haven't taken a break in forever, sis. Stay." His encouragement surprised her, easing the weight of her guilt. "Okay, I'll call you tomorrow," she promised, hanging up as the car pulled up to La Royale, a hotel that gleamed with marble and crystal chandeliers. The lobby was a vision of luxury, with staff materializing to assist them. "Mr. Brooks, welcome back," the manager, Jean-Paul, said, his accent crisp. "The presidential suite is ready." Nathan nodded. "Thank you, Jean-Paul. We'll also need a separate room for Ms. Wilson." Jean-Paul barely blinked. Of course, a junior suite on the same floor. Amara followed, dazed, as they were escorted to a gold-plated elevator. Her room was larger than her entire apartment, with a balcony overlooking the Eiffel Tower and a bathroom that gleamed with marble. Jean-Paul handed her a keycard. "Mr. Brooks has arranged for clothes to be delivered tomorrow. Dial 0 for anything you need." Alone, Amara sank onto the king-sized bed, the silk sheets alien beneath her fingers. She was in a luxury hotel in Paris because of a mistake. The weight of her decision settled in. Staying meant stepping further into Nathan's world, where she might not belong. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. "Dinner at 8 at the rooftop restaurant. Amazing views. Rest well." Amara hesitated, then replied, "Sounds good. Need to sort out a flight home tomorrow." His response was quick. "We'll figure it out. Sleep well, Amara." She lay back, staring at the ornate ceiling, her mind tangled with excitement and doubt. Paris was a dream, but her life, Jamal, her patience, the hospital, was her reality. Could she afford to let herself fall into this fairy tale, even for one night? As she drifted towards sleep, the city's lights winked outside, urging her to take the chance. The morning sun bathed Paris in a golden glow, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets as Amara Wilson stepped out of La Royale's grand lobby. Nathan Brooks waited by a sleek black car, his casual jeans and light sweater starkly contrasting with the tailored suit he'd worn on the jet. His blue eyes lit up as he saw her, and Amara felt a flutter in her chest, quickly tempered by the weight of her worn backpack slung over her shoulder. She'd chosen a simple sundress from the clothes Nathan had sent to her room. Its soft fabric was a luxury she wasn't used to, yet it felt like a costume in his world of effortless wealth. "Ready to see Paris?" Nathan asked, opening the car door with a smile that made her heart skip. Amara nodded, her gaze drifting to the Eiffel Tower shimmering in the distance. She admitted, "I've only seen it in pictures," sliding into the car. "It's even better up close," Nathan promised, his voice warm with anticipation. Amara pressed her face to the window as they drove through the city, captivated by the elegant boulevards and historic buildings. The city felt alive, a pulse of beauty and history that tugged at her dreams, long buried under hospital shifts and bills. Their first stop was a hidden garden behind an ancient church, its stone walls draped in ivy and vibrant spring flowers. Nathan led her to a stone bench beneath a cherry tree, pink petals drifting like soft snow. He said, "I used to come here when I lived in Paris after college," settling beside her. "It's quiet, away from the tourists." Amara inhaled the sweet air, the tranquility easing her nerves. "It's beautiful," she said, her voice soft like a secret. Nathan's eyes met hers, a flicker of vulnerability in them. Exactly. A place to think, to remember. The garden's peace invited honesty, and Amara found herself opening up. "After my parents died, I stopped dreaming about places like this," she confessed. "It's been about keeping things together for Jamal, paying the mortgage and helping with his college applications. I forgot what it feels like to just be." Nathan nodded, his expression somber. "I get that. After Eric died, I couldn't stay in our Boston office. Every desk, every project reminded me of him. I started traveling to escape, but it's like running from your shadow." Amar's chest tightened, recognizing the grief in his voice. "What was Eric like?" she asked gently. Nathan's gaze drifted to the petals on the ground. He was the optimist who saw possibilities where I saw risks. "We met at MIT, two nerds obsessed with code. He'd drag me to dive bars to celebrate our smallest wins, a bug fixed, a client pitch. When we started Brooks Tech, he believed we could compete with the big players. His code made our security software what it is." He paused, his jaw tightening. "Like old times, that climbing trip in Colorado was supposed to be our reset. I canceled for a deal. He went without me and fell." The raw pain in his words mirrored Amara's losses, and she reached out, touching his hand lightly. "You can't carry that guilt forever," she said. "I've tried with my parents. It doesn't change what happened." Nathan's fingers curled around hers, a quiet gratitude in his eyes. "You sound like you've carried a lot too." Amara nodded, her throat tight. "Jamal was 16 when it happened. I became his parent overnight. It's not just the money. It's making sure he feels safe, like he has a future. But sometimes I wonder who I am outside of that." Nathan squeezed her hand. "You're someone who saves lives, Amara. That's more than most can say." His words warmed her, but a flicker of doubt lingered. She felt seen in this garden with Nathan. But what about in his broader world? Would she be a curiosity, a nurse out of place among wealth and privilege? She pushed the thought aside as Nathan stood, offering his hand. Come on, let's see more of the city. They wandered through a bustling market, stalls overflowing with fresh bread, cheeses, and vibrant flowers. Nathan greeted vendors in fluent French, his ease surprising Amara. "You're not what I expected," she said as they sampled warm croissants. "I thought you'd be more, I don't know, corporate." Nathan laughed, brushing crumbs from his sweater. "I lived here for a year before Brooks Tech took off. Paris taught me to slow down, at least a little. Eric used to say I'd forget how to live if I stayed in boardrooms too long." Their conversation flowed as they explored narrow streets, passing tiny bookshops and cafes where locals sipped espresso. Nathan shared stories of his early days with Eric, their failed attempts at a food delivery app, and the thrill of landing their first major contract. Amara told him about growing up in New Jersey, her decision to become a nurse after her grandmother's illness, and Jamal's dreams of medical school. The ease of their exchange felt natural, yet Amara couldn't shake the awareness of their different worlds, her life of clipped coupons and double shifts, his of private jets and global deals. As the sun rose, they stopped at a small cafe, its sidewalk tables overlooking a quiet square. Nathan ordered in French, earning a warm smile from the owner, who kissed his cheeks like an old friend. Amara watched, charmed but uneasy. "You fit here," she said, sipping her espresso. "I feel like I'm borrowing someone else's life." Nathan's gaze softened. "You belong wherever you choose to be, Amara. This city, this moment, it's yours too." His words stirred something in her, a mix of hope and fear. And could she belong in a world so far from her own? By afternoon, they sat on a bridge over the Seine, watching boats glide beneath them. The city's beauty was undeniable, but Amara's thoughts drifted to Jamal and Keisha, to the hospital waiting back home. Nathan seemed to sense her shift. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice gentle. Amara hesitated, then spoke. "This is incredible, but it's not my life. I don't fit in a place like this, with someone like you." Nathan's brow furrowed, but he didn't interrupt. "I'm just a nurse, Nathan. My world is so different. I can't be part of yours." He leaned closer, his eyes earnest. "You're not just anything, Amara. You're real, grounded, someone who makes a difference. That's what matters to me." His sincerity chipped away at her doubts, and for a moment, she let herself believe in the possibility of this connection. Amara felt a spark of courage as the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over Paris. Maybe, for today, she could let herself live in this dream. The Paris afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of La Royale's library, casting golden patterns across the polished wooden shelves. Amara Wilson sat alone on a velvet couch, her phone screen glowing with search results that made her stomach churn. She'd been scrolling since breakfast, prompted by a text from her brother, Jamal. "Yo, is this Nathan Brooks guy? The Nathan Brooks? Tech billionaire? Google him." Her fingers had flown across the keyboard, typing Nathan Brooks, Tech CEO, and the results flooded in. Articles about Brooks Tech's revolutionary security software, photos of Nathan at charity galas, headlines calling him one of America's most eligible bachelors. One article, dated 8 months ago, caught her eye. Tech billionaire Nathan Brooks retreats after partner's death. It described his withdrawal from public life after Eric's climbing accident, with speculation about Brooks Tech's future. Amara's heart raced, a mix of embarrassment and betrayal rising in her chest. Nathan had let her think he was a businessman, not a billionaire whose life was splashed across news sites. Had he been amused by her naivety, a nurse stumbling into his world of private jets and luxury hotels? She thought of their day in Paris, the hidden garden, the market, their shared stories of loss. and wondered if it had all been a game to him, a fleeting distraction from his high-profile life. Her fingers tightened around her phone, the silver star pendant Nathan had given her feeling heavy against her collarbone. A soft knock broke her thoughts. Nathan stood in the doorway, his casual jeans and blue button-down shirt making him look more approachable than the headline suggested. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, his smile faltering as he saw her expression. Amara stood, crossing her arms. "They're worth more than that, especially to a billionaire." Her voice was sharp, the hurt spilling out. Nathan's face shifted, a flicker of guilt crossing his features. "Ah, you've been doing some research." "Jamal did," Amara said, her tone clipped. "He sent me a text, and I looked you up. You're not just some businessman, Nathan. You're Nathan Brooks, tech mogul, worth billions. Why didn't you tell me?" Nathan ran a hand through his sandy hair, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Can we sit?" he asked, gesturing to the couch. Amara hesitated, then nodded, keeping a careful distance between them as they sat. The library's quiet elegance felt like a stage for their confrontation, the weight of her discovery hanging in the air. "When you walked onto the plane," Nathan began, his voice earnest, "you had no idea who I was. That's rare for me. Most people see the money, the headlines before they see me. You didn't, and it was refreshing." Amara's eyes narrowed. "So you lied to me because it was refreshing? Watched me fumble through your world like some clueless outsider?" Nathan shook his head quickly. "No, Amara, it wasn't like that. I didn't lie. I didn't volunteer the whole story. I wanted to be someone honest with you, not a net worth figure." "That's splitting hairs," Amara countered, her voice steady but firm. "You let me think you were just a guy with a fancy plane, not someone who could buy my entire hospital without blinking. I deserved to know who I was dealing with." Nathan's shoulders slumped slightly, his gaze meeting hers. "You're right. I should have been up front. I'm sorry." His apology was sincere, but Amara's hurt lingered. "Why, Nathan? Were you testing me? Seeing how long it'd take the nurse to figure it out?" Nathan leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. "No test, I swear. After Eric died, everyone started treating me differently, like I was fragile or just a walking bank account. Business partners tiptoe around me, worried I'll sell Brooks Tech. People I meet, they see dollar signs. Then you came along, exhausted, real, unimpressed by any of it. For the first time in a year, I felt like myself again, not a headline." His voice was raw, and Amara saw the vulnerability beneath his polished exterior, a man grieving and searching for connection. She softened, but her doubts persisted. "So, I'm what? A novelty? The ordinary nurse who doesn't know your world?" Nathan shook his head firmly. "You're not a novelty, Amara. You make me feel alive, like there's still something worth holding on to." His words struck a chord, echoing her longing for something beyond her daily grind. But the gap between their worlds loomed large. "What happens when people see us together?" she asked quietly. "I'm not Vanessa Carter. I'm not part of your elite circle. They'll judge me, Nathan, and I'm not sure I can handle that." He reached for her hand, his touch gentle but firm. "Let them judge. I don't care about their opinions, and you shouldn't either. You're here because you're you, not because of who I am." Amara wanted to believe him, but the headlines flashed in her mind. Photos of Nathan with models and CEOs, none of whom looked like her or lived her life. Still, his sincerity chipped away at her anger, and she felt the pull of their connection, fragile but real. "I need you to be honest from now on," she said, her voice steady. "No more secrets." Nathan nodded, relief softening his features. "Deal." Complete honesty, starting now. He paused, a small smile breaking through. So, will you still have lunch with me? Let me make this right. Amara studied him, searching for any hint of manipulation, but found only genuine regret and hope. Against her better judgment, she nodded. Okay, lunch. But don't think you're off the hook yet. Nathan's smile widened, and he stood, offering his hand. Fair enough. Let's go. Amara felt a mix of resolve and uncertainty as they left the library. Her phone buzzed. Keisha's text. You in Paris with the billionaire? Call me. Amara sighed, knowing she'd have to explain this to her friend and Jamal soon. For now, she followed Nathan into the Paris sunlight, the city's beauty a backdrop to their fragile truce. The truth about his wealth had shaken her, but his vulnerability had pulled her back, leaving her to wonder if this unexpected journey could bridge their worlds. The Seine sparkled under the midday sun, its gentle ripples catching the light, as Amara Wilson and Nathan Brooks settled at a small cafe table overlooking the river. The air carried the scent of fresh baguettes and espresso, blending with the hum of Parisian life. Locals chatting, bicycles whirring past, and the distant strum of a street musician's guitar. Amara's fingers traced the edge of her coffee cup, and the silver star pendant at her collarbone was a quiet reminder of Nathan's gesture. After their confrontation in the hotel library, his apology softened her anger, but doubts lingered. Could she trust him to be fully honest? Could she, a nurse with a life of hospital shifts and bills, truly belong in his world? Nathan leaned forward, his blue eyes steady, unguarded. I meant what I said, Amara. No more secrets. Ask me anything, and I'll tell you the truth. His sincerity disarmed her, and she took a deep breath, deciding to test him. Okay, tell me about Brooks Tech. Not the headlines, the real story. Nathan's smile was tinged with nostalgia. It started in a garage, believe it or not. Eric and I were at MIT, obsessed with computer security. We'd stay up all night coding, surviving on ramen and bad coffee. Our first software was a mess, but Eric saw its potential. He had this way of making impossible things feel doable. He paused, his gaze drifting to the river. We got our big break with a government contract. I pushed the business side, meetings, pitches, deals. Eric was the soul, constantly reminding me why we started, to protect people, not just systems. After he died, I couldn't face the office. It felt like betraying him to keep going without him. Amara recognized the weight of his grief, mirroring her own after her parents' accident. I know that feeling, she said softly. Like you're supposed to move on, but every step feels wrong. Nathan nodded, his eyes meeting hers. Exactly. That's why I've been traveling, trying to find something to fill the void. Amara hesitated and then spoke, her voice steady but vulnerable. For me, it's been work. The ICU is relentless, but it's where I feel in control. Outside of that, it's just me and Jamal, keeping our heads above water. Sometimes, I get these looks from patients and colleagues as if I have to prove I belong there. It's exhausting, carrying that extra weight. Nathan's brow furrowed, his expression earnest. That's not fair. You're incredible at what you do. I saw it in how you talked about your patients yesterday. Amara's cheeks warmed, but she pressed on. It's not just about being good at my job. It's the assumptions people make and how they size me up before I speak. I worry it'll be worse in your world. People judging me, wondering what I'm doing with someone like you. Her words hung between them, raw and unfiltered, touching the societal gap she feared. Nathan reached across the table, his hand covering hers. I can't change how others see us, but I can promise you this. I see you, Amara, not as a nurse or a headline, but as someone honest and who matters. His touch grounded her, and the bustling cafe faded momentarily, leaving just them. "What's it like for you?" she asked, turning the question back and being in the spotlight. "Having everyone know your business?" Nathan sighed, leaning back. "It's isolating. After Eric's death, the media spun stories about my mental state, my company's stock. Friends became cautious, as if I were fragile. I started hiding, keeping people at arm's length." Amara nodded, understanding the wall's grief could build. "I did that too, after my parents. Pushed people away, focused on Jamal. Keisha's the only one who stuck around, calling me out when I'm too stubborn." Nathan smiled faintly. "She sounds like a good friend." Amara laughed, the tension easing. "She is. She's probably still mad I ditched our trip, but she'll forgive me once I tell her." She gestured to the river, the city, the moment. Nathan's eyes sparkled with an idea. "Let's make it worth telling her about. Want to see more of Paris?" Amara hesitated, then nodded, a spark of excitement overriding her doubts. They left the cafe, wandering through narrow streets lined with bookshops and art galleries, places tourists rarely found. Nathan shared stories of his year in Paris before Brooks Tech, when he and Eric lived in a cramped apartment, dreaming of their big break. Amara told him about her childhood in New Jersey, summer barbecues with her parents, and teaching Jamal to ride a bike in their driveway. The stories wove a tapestry of their lives, bridging the gap between them. At a tiny gallery, they paused before a painting of a starry night, its colors vivid against a dark canvas. "This reminds me of you," Nathan said, his voice soft, bright, steady, even in the dark. Amara's heart fluttered, but she deflected with a smile. "Smooth talker. Does that work on all your jet passengers?" Nathan laughed, shaking his head. "Only the ones who sneak past my security." Their banter felt easy, a sign of the trust rebuilding between them. As the sun set, they found themselves on a quiet street, the golden light casting long shadows. Amara's phone buzzed. Jamal's text, "You good in Paris? Aunt Lena's cooking tonight. Send pics." She smiled, typing a quick reply, "All good. Pics soon. Love you." Nathan watched, his expression warm. "He's lucky to have you," he said. Amara shrugged, but her voice was serious. "I'm fortunate to have him. He keeps me grounded, reminds me what's real." Nathan nodded, his gaze lingering. "You do that for me too, Amara. More than you know." The moment felt charged, their honesty stripping away the barriers of their different worlds. Amara was still worried about fitting into Nathan's life and the scrutiny they might face, but his openness made her want to try. As they walked back toward the hotel, the Paris skyline glowing against the dusk, she felt a tentative hope. This unexpected connection could be something real, something worth fighting for. The Paris evening draped the city in a soft violet glow, the lights of Montmartre twinkling like stars, as Amara Wilson and Nathan Brooks stood on a hill overlooking the sprawling city. The Sacré-Cœur's white dome loomed behind them, a silent witness to the moment. Amara's fingers brushed the silver star pendant at her collarbone, a gift from Nathan that felt comforting and heavy. Their day of wandering through Paris, bookshops, cafes, and quiet streets, had woven a fragile trust between them. But Amara's heart wrestled with a choice. Her flight back to New Jersey was hours away, yet Nathan's presence, his openness after their confrontation, tugged at her to stay. Nathan leaned against the railing, his blue eyes reflecting the city's lights. "Your flight leaves soon," he said, his voice low, almost reluctant. "We should head to the hotel to get your things." Amara nodded, her gaze fixed on the Eiffel Tower's golden glow. The practical voice in her head urged her to go home. To Jamal, her hospital shifts, the life she'd built on duty and sacrifice. But Paris, with its beauty and Nathan's quiet intensity, whispered of a chance to live for herself, if only for a moment longer. "I don't want you to go," Nathan said suddenly, turning to face her. His words carried a weight that made her breath catch. "Stay, Amara. 2 more days. I have a house just outside the city. Peaceful. Away from all this." He gestured to the bustling city below. "We could get to know each other better with no pressure." Amara's heart raced, torn between temptation and fear. Staying meant stepping deeper into his world, where she might be seen as an outsider, judged for not belonging. Yet his sincerity, the way he saw her beyond her job or circumstances, made her want to take the risk. "I can't just," she started, her voice faltering. "I have responsibilities. Jamal, my job. My life's not like yours, Nathan." He stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "I know. I'm not asking you to abandon anything. Just give us a chance to see what this is." His hand reached for hers, warm and steady. 2 days. I'll return you by Monday afternoon, in time for your shift." His practicality addressed her concerns, but the more profound fear of heartbreak, of losing herself in his world, lingered. Amara pulled out her phone, needing to ground herself. She dialed Jamal, who answered with his usual mix of humor and concern. "Sis, are you still in Paris? Keisha's losing it." Amara smiled, glancing at Nathan, who had stepped away to give her space. "I'm okay, Jamal. I plan to stay 2 more days. Is Aunt Lena good with you until then?" Jamal's laugh crackled through the phone. "You kidding? Stay. Aunt Lena's feeding me like I'm 10. You deserve this, Amara. You've been carrying us both forever." His mature and selfless words brought a lump to her throat. "You sure?" she asked. "I'm sure. Have fun. But you owe me a story." Hanging up, Amara called Keisha, bracing for her friend's reaction. "Amara Wilson, you better have a good excuse for ditching me." Keisha's voice was sharp but playful. Amara explained the mix-up, the jet, and Nathan. Keisha's tone softened, then turned teasing. "You're in Paris with a billionaire? Girl, you're living a movie. Stay, but you'll buy me dinner when you're back." Amara laughed, the knot in her chest loosening. "Deal." "Thanks, Keisha." Their support gave her courage, but the decision was hers alone. She turned to Nathan, who watched her with quiet hope. "Jamal and Keisha say I should stay," she said, a small smile breaking through. Nathan's face lit up, but he kept his tone gentle. "And what do you say?" Amara took a deep breath, her mind flashing to the hospital, her patients, and the bills waiting at home. Then she thought of Nathan, the garden, their shared stories, the way he made her feel seen. Staying meant risking heartbreak, stepping into a world where she might not fit, where people might whisper about the nurse with the billionaire. But it also meant a chance at something real she hadn't let herself want in years. "Okay," she whispered, the word feeling monumental. 2 more days. 2 more. Nathan's smile was like sunrise, warm and full of promise. He pulled her into a gentle embrace, his arms steady around her. "You won't regret it," he murmured against her hair. Amara wasn't sure if that was true, but as she stood in his arms, Paris glittering below, she knew she'd regret walking away more. The city seemed to hum with encouragement, its lights urging her to seize this moment. They walked back to the car, hand in hand. The driver, Michel, waiting with a knowing smile. "To the house, sir?" he asked. Nathan glanced at Amara, who nodded. "Yes, please." As the car glided through Paris, Amara's thoughts swirled. She was stepping into the unknown, leaving behind the safety of her routine for a man she'd known for mere days. Yet their connection, forged in shared grief, honesty, and quiet moments, felt like a lifeline. She touched the star pendant, and its cool metal ground her. Nathan's hand squeezed hers, and she met his eyes, finding reassurance in their warmth. The city faded into the countryside, the road lined with trees glowing under subtle lights. Amara's phone buzzed. Jamal's text. "Have an adventure, sis. Love you." She smiled, typing back, "Love you too. Pics soon." Keisha's message followed. "Don't do anything I wouldn't do." Amara chuckled, feeling lighter. Nathan noticed, his expression curious. "Good news?" he asked. "Just my people cheering me on," she said. "Smart people," Nathan replied, his voice soft. "It must run in the family." As the car turned down a tree-lined driveway, Amara felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Despite the risks, she was choosing to stay and explore this connection. Nathan's world was vast and unfamiliar, but his presence beside her felt like a bridge, one she was ready to cross, at least for now. The French countryside unfolded in a patchwork of rolling hills and golden fields as the car wound down a tree-lined driveway, its subtle lights casting a warm glow. Amara Wilson gazed out the window, her fingers brushing the silver star pendant at her collarbone, a tangible reminder of Nathan Brooks and the leap of faith she'd taken to stay in Paris. The stone house at the drive's end was timeless and modern, its ivy-covered walls blending with sleek windows, hinting at recent renovations. Amara's heart fluttered with awe and unease. She was far from her New Jersey apartment, hospital shifts, and life anchored by her brother Jamal's needs. Nathan stepped out of the car, his jeans and light sweater making him seem more approachable than the billionaire she'd read about online. "Welcome to my home," he said, his blue eyes catching hers with a warmth that eased her nerves. "At least for the next 2 days." Amara managed a smile, clutching her backpack as they entered. The interior was elegant yet cozy, with antique furniture and modern touches, a fireplace crackling in the living room, shelves lined with books. Madame Berton, the housekeeper, greeted them with a kind nod, taking their coats before retreating to the guest house she shared with her husband. "This place is incredible," Amara said, her voice soft as she took in the polished wood floors and soft lighting. Nathan shrugged, a touch of embarrassment in his smile. "It's a bit much. Eric used to tease me about buying it, said I was trying to play Lord of the Manor." The mention of Eric, his late friend and business partner, brought a shadow to his face, and Amara felt a pang of empathy. "She said he sounds like he kept you grounded," setting her backpack down. Nathan nodded, his expression softening. "He did. He'd have loved this place, though. Always said we'd retire here, arguing over code in French." They wandered to the kitchen, where the scent of fresh bread greeted them. Madame Berton had left a simple breakfast spread, croissants, fruit, and coffee. Nathan pulled out a chair for Amara, his ease in the domestic setting surprising her. "He said we could visit the village market today and pour coffee. It's real, not like the tourist spots in Paris." Amara nodded, the idea appealing. "I've never been to a French market." "Sounds perfect." Her voice was light, but her mind churned. Could she fit into this world, even for a weekend? The village was a postcard of stone buildings and flower boxes, its central square alive with stalls selling honey, cheeses, and handmade crafts. Nathan greeted vendors by name, his fluent French earning warm smiles. Amara watched, charmed, but hyper-aware of the curious glances she drew. As a nurse used to proving herself in high-pressure settings, She wondered how she'd be perceived here, beside a man whose wealth was worlds apart. "You're comfortable here," she observed as they browsed a stall with jars of lavender honey. "More than in Paris," Nathan admitted, paying without haggling. "These people don't care about stock prices or headlines. It's honest." Amara nodded, understanding the appeal of authenticity. "I get that. At the hospital, it's just me and the patients. No pretenses, just doing what matters." Nathan's eyes met hers, curious. "What's the most challenging part of that?" Amara hesitated, then spoke, her voice low. "Sometimes I resent the weight of it all. Not Jamal, but the responsibility. I had plans, maybe a research job, travel. But after my parents died, it was all about keeping us afloat. I don't regret it, but sometimes I wonder what could have been." The admission felt raw, one she hadn't shared even with Keisha. Nathan's hand brushed hers, a quiet gesture of understanding. "That's not selfish, Amara. It's human." His voice was gentle, and she felt a weight lift. His lack of judgment was a balm. "Your turn," she said, needing to shift the focus. "Something real." Nathan's gaze drifted to the horizon, his jaw tightening. "I blame myself for Eric's death. We had this climbing tradition, our way of stepping away from Brooks Tech. I canceled a client meeting at the last minute. If I'd been there, maybe I could have." He trailed off, the guilt palpable. Amara's heart ached, recognizing the familiar spiral of what-ifs. "Or maybe you'd have been hurt too," she said softly. "I've played that game with my parents' accident. It doesn't fix anything." Nathan nodded, his eyes meeting hers with gratitude. "My therapist says the same, but it's hard to let go." They stood silently, the market's bustle fading as their shared pain connected them. Amara felt a pull toward him, but the gap between their lives loomed. Her world of double shifts and student loans, his of estates and global influence. They bought bread, cheese, and fruit for a picnic, driving to a secluded riverbank where willow trees draped over the water. Spreading a blanket, they ate in comfortable silence, the simplicity of the moment grounding them. "This is perfect," Amara said, leaning back, the dappled sunlight warm on her face. Nathan's gaze softened, not on the scenery, but on her. "You look happy," he said. "It suits you." Amara blushed, self-conscious. "I am happy. Happier than I've been in a long time." The truth surprised her, but the thought of returning to her reality, bills, shifts, scrutiny, tempered her joy. Nathan reached for her hand, his touch steady. "I want you to have more moments like this, Amara." His words stirred a mix of hope and fear. Could she hold on to this feeling and connection when their worlds were so different? As the river flowed quietly beside them, she let herself linger in the moment, the French countryside a temporary haven where their differences felt surmountable, at least for now. The French countryside glowed under the soft evening light, the stone walls of Nathan Brooks' house casting long shadows across the manicured garden. Amara Wilson sat with Nathan in the cozy library, a fire crackling in the hearth, casting a warm glow over shelves of leather-bound books. The silver star pendant at her collarbone caught the light, a quiet reminder of their shared days in Paris. After a morning at the village market and a picnic by the river, their connection had deepened. But Amara's mind churned with questions about what came next. Her flight back to New Jersey loomed tomorrow, and the reality of their different worlds. Her life of hospital shifts and bills, his of wealth and global influence, felt like a chasm they couldn't ignore. Nathan sipped a glass of wine, his blue eyes studying her with warmth and caution. "You've been quiet," he said, setting his glass on the table. "What's on your mind?" Amara's fingers traced the rim of her glass, the weight of her thoughts pressing down. Us, she admitted, her voice steady but vulnerable. This, Paris, your house, you, it's like a dream. But tomorrow I go back to my life. Hospital shifts, Jamal's college costs, scraping by. How does this work, Nathan? Our worlds don't precisely align. Nathan leaned forward, his expression serious. I've been thinking about that too. What if we tried? I can come to New Jersey and work remotely. You could visit me on weekends and days off. We could make it work. His offer was earnest, but Amara's doubts lingered. Long distance is hard enough, she said, but add in everything else. Your life, the media, the way people will look at us. She paused, the unspoken weight of societal scrutiny heavy in her chest. I've dealt with enough judgment at work, proving myself every day. Being with you, it'll be worse. People will talk, Nathan. He nodded, his jaw tightening. I know. I've seen how the press twists things and how people judge. After Eric died, every move I made was dissected. Rumors about selling Brooks Tech, about my mental state. It's why I've been hiding, traveling. He reached for her hand, his touch grounding. But you're worth facing that for, Amara. I'm not asking you to change your life, just to let me be part of it. His words stirred her, but the practicalities loomed large. My job's demanding, she said. 12-hour shifts, sometimes doubles. And Jamal's tuition. It's not just money, it's time, energy. I can't afford to lose focus. Nathan's eyes softened, reflecting the firelight. I get it. Eric used to call me out for working too much, saying I'd burn out chasing deals. He was right. After he died in that climbing accident, I realized how much time I'd wasted on things that didn't matter. He squeezed her hand. You and Jamal, your patience, that's what matters to you. I respect that. I want to build something with you, even if it's messy. Amara's heart ached at his sincerity, but she pressed on. What about the rest? Your world, galas, boardrooms, people who expect you to be with someone different, someone who fits. Nathan's brow furrowed, a flicker of frustration crossing his face. You mean someone like Vanessa Carter? That's not what I want, Amara. Those people, that world, it's not me. I'm the guy who coded in a garage with Eric, who'd rather be here with you than at some fancy event. He paused, his voice softening. But I won't lie. It won't be easy. The media can be brutal, and people will have opinions. I've had relationships fall apart because of it. I think we're stronger than that. Amara's mind flashed to the headlines she'd read. Photos of Nathan with polished socialites. She imagined the whispers, the assumptions about her place beside him. I've spent my life proving I belong, she said quietly. At the hospital, I always have to work harder and smile brighter to be seen as equal. I'm scared that with you, it'll be times 100. Nathan's gaze held hers, unwavering. You don't have to prove anything to me. And if anyone tries to make you feel less, they'll answer to me. I'm all in, Amara, if you are. The fire crackled, filling the silence as Amara weighed his words. Her phone buzzed. Keisha's text. You still alive in Paris? Spill the tea. Amara smiled faintly, typing a quick reply. Alive. Complicated. Call you tomorrow. Jamal's earlier encouragement echoed in her mind, urging her to seize this chance. Nathan's vulnerability, his willingness to face the challenges, chipped away at her fears. Okay, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Let's try. One step at a time. Nathan's face lit up, a smile breaking through the tension. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her in a tender embrace. He echoed one step at a time, his breath warm against her hair. Amara leaned into him, the fire's warmth mingling with the heat of their connection. The kiss that followed was gentle, yet urgent, a promise sealed in the library's quiet. As they pulled apart, breathless, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. "I'm terrified of messing this up," he admitted, a rare crack in his confidence. "But I'm more scared of losing you." Amara's heart swelled, her fears not gone, but softened by his honesty. "I'm scared too," she confessed. "But I want this, Nathan. I want us." The words felt like a vow, fragile but real. They sat together, hands entwined, the French countryside silent outside. Amara knew the challenges ahead, her demanding job, Jamal's needs, the scrutiny they'd face. But for now, in this moment, she chose to believe in the possibility of their shared future. The French countryside shimmered under the morning sun, fields of wildflowers stretching toward the horizon as Amara Wilson and Nathan Brooks wandered through a centuries-old vineyard. The air was crisp and scented with earth and grapes, a stark contrast to the hospital corridors Amara would return to in New Jersey. Her fingers brushed the silver star pendant at her collarbone, a gift from Nathan that anchored her to these fleeting days. Their time together, Paris, the village market, quiet moments in his countryside home, had woven a bond she hadn't expected. But today was their last day, and the weight of her impending departure pressed heavily on her heart. Nathan walked beside her, his jeans and sweater casual yet deliberate, as if he'd chosen to blend into this simpler world. His blue eyes caught hers, a mix of warmth and reluctance. "This place suits you," he said, gesturing to the rolling vines. "You look free." Amara smiled, but it was tinged with sadness. "I feel free, but it's temporary. Tomorrow I'm back to reality, shifts, bills, Jamal." Nathan nodded, his expression softening. "I know, but today's ours. Let's make it count." His words carried a quiet urgency, a plea to hold on to the moment before their worlds pulled them apart. They spent the morning exploring a nearby chateau, its stone walls echoing with history. Nathan shared stories of his time in Paris after college, when he and Eric dreamed of building Brooks Tech while wandering similar places. Eric loved old buildings, he said, his voice catching. He'd say they reminded him that life goes on, no matter what falls apart. Amara touched his arm, recognizing the grief from Eric's climbing accident. "He sounds like he saw the big picture," she said. "I try to, with my patients. You fight for them, but sometimes you have to let go." Nathan's hand covered hers, a silent thank you for understanding. Lunch was at the vineyard, a simple spread of bread, cheese, and wine under a shaded pergola. The tranquility felt like a bubble, shielding them from the realities waiting beyond. Amara's phone buzzed. Keisha's text, "You still in fairy tale land? Don't forget us, little people." Amara chuckled, typing back, "Never. Home tomorrow. Call you soon." Jamal's message followed. "Enjoy your last day, sis. Aunt Lena's got me. Send pics." Their support grounded her, a reminder of the life she'd returned to, and their encouragement to seize this moment. As the afternoon waned, they returned to Nathan's house to collect Amara's belongings. In her guest room, she found a small wrapped package on the bed, with Nathan's handwriting on a note. "Something to remember our time here. N." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a star pendant, identical to the one she wore, symbolizing their shared journey. She clasped it beside the first, the twin stars resting against her heart. The gesture was understated, yet profound, a promise that this wasn't the end. Downstairs, Nathan waited in the foyer, her backpack in hand. His face brightened when he saw the necklaces. "You like it?" he asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "It's perfect," Amara said, touching the pendants. "Thank you." The drive to Charles de Gaulle Airport was quiet, the countryside fading into the city's glow. Nathan broke the silence as they neared the terminal. "I've arranged a private lounge for us to wait in. Unless you'd rather the main terminal." Amara shook her head. "The lounge is fine." Saying goodbye in a crowded airport felt too raw, too exposed. The private lounge was elegant, with plush seating and views of the runways. A staff member took Amara's boarding pass, promising to notify them when boarding began. Alone, Nathan pulled her into his arms, holding her close, as if memorizing her presence. "I've got a car waiting for you at JFK, he said against her hair. "It'll take you straight home." Amara pulled back, her eyes searching his. "You didn't have to do that." Nathan's smile was soft. "I wanted to. It's the least I can do." "When will I see you again?" Amara asked the question, heavy with hope and fear. Nathan's gaze was steady. "I'm in Boston for meetings through Wednesday, but I can fly to New Jersey Thursday evening if that suits you." The thought of him rearranging his life for her made her heart swell. "Thursday's perfect," she said. "I'm off Friday." Nathan's smile widened. "Then it's a date, our first official one." Amara raised an eyebrow, teasing. "What's been the past few days?" Nathan's laugh was warm. "The prelude. The best one I've ever had." The boarding announcement came too soon, a sharp reminder of their separation. They walked to the security checkpoint, Nathan's arm around her waist, reluctant to let go. At the gate, where he could go no further, they stopped. Amara's throat tightened, the weight of leaving this dreamlike interlude hitting her. "Call me when you land," Nathan said, his voice rough. "I don't care what time. I want to know you're safe." Amara nodded, fighting tears. "I will." Their connection, forged in days of shared vulnerability, felt like something rare, something she couldn't bear to lose. Nathan took her face in his hands, his eyes intense. "These days have been everything, Amara. Whatever comes next, I'm in, completely." His sincerity left no room for doubt, mirroring her heart's hope. "I'm in too," she whispered, surprised by the truth. Their final kiss was deep, passionate, and promising what could be. As they parted, Nathan pressed his forehead to hers. "This isn't goodbye," he said firmly. "It's see you soon." Amara echoed, "See you soon," forcing herself to step back, towards security, away from the most extraordinary days of her life. Amara Wilson stepped into her modest New Jersey apartment, the familiar creak of the floorboards, grounding her after the dreamlike days in Paris. It was late evening on July 18, 2025, and the flight from Charles de Gaulle had left her both exhausted and exhilarated. The twin silver star pendants at her collarbone glinted under the dim living room light, a reminder of Nathan Brooks and the connection they'd forged. Still packed from the trip, her backpack sat by the door, starkly contrasting the luxury she'd briefly inhabited. Outside, the sounds of her neighborhood, car horns, distant laughter, felt comforting and jarring after the quiet of the French countryside. Jamal bounded from the kitchen, his grin wide. "Sis, you're back. How was Paris?" Amara laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Crazy. I've got stories, but how's Aunt Lena treating you?" Jamal rolled his eyes playfully. "She's feeding me like I'm starving." "I'm good. Now spill. Billionaire guy?" Amara swatted his arm, smiling. "His name's Nathan, and don't call him that to his face." She touched the pendants, her heart light despite the weight of returning to her reality of hospital shifts and bills. Her phone buzzed. Nathan's text. "Landed in Boston. Miss you already." Thursday, 7:30. Amara's fingers hovered, a mix of excitement and nerves. Can't wait, she typed back. 7:30's perfect. The past few days, Paris, Nathan's countryside home, their shared vulnerabilities, had awakened something in her, a hope she hadn't felt since before her parents' death. But doubts crept in as she glanced around her small apartment, with its second-hand furniture and family photos. Could Nathan, a tech CEO with a life of global influence, truly fit here? The following days passed in a blur of normalcy that felt anything but typical. Amara returned to City General Hospital, where her ICU shifts were demanding but familiar. Colleagues noticed a change. Her friend Keisha cornered her during a break. "You're glowing, girl. What happened in Paris?" Amara smiled, hesitantly. "It isn't very easy. Good complicated." Keisha raised an eyebrow. "Good. Like, I met a billionaire." "Is that good?" "You're different, Amara. Like you're awake." Amara nodded, touching the pendants. That's precisely it. She and Nathan talked daily, quick calls to share their mornings, longer ones at night that left her smiling. He sent photos of Boston meetings. She shared glimpses of her shifts, and their conversations were a bridge between their worlds. On Thursday, Amara woke to a flutter of anticipation. Nathan's flight would land at 6:00 p.m., their first official date set for 7:30. She chose a simple blue dress, the pendants accentuating her collarbone, and checked herself in the mirror. Would Nathan see her world, her modest apartment, her demanding life, and still want this? Jamal, sprawled on the couch, gave her a thumbs up. "You look great, sis. Billionaire guy's gonna lose it." Amara laughed, shaking her head. "Nathan, Jamal. And behave." Jamal's grin softened. "He makes you happy, doesn't he? After everything you've done for me, you deserve that." His words, wise beyond his years, warmed her. "He does," she admitted. "It's new, but yeah." A knock at the door sent her heart racing. Nathan was early. Opening the door, Amara found him wearing jeans and a casual shirt, replacing his usual polish, a bouquet of wildflowers in hand, echoes of their French countryside picnic. His blue eyes lit up, taking her in. "Hi," he said, his voice soft and appreciative. "Hi yourself," Amara replied, stepping back to let him in. "You're early." Nathan handed her the flowers, their scent earthy and familiar. "Couldn't wait. These reminded me of our walk." Amara's chest tightened with emotion. "They're perfect." Nathan stepped inside, shaking Jamal's hand with an easy smile. "Good to meet you, man. Heard a lot about you." Jamal grinned, teasing. "Hope it's all good. You're the guy who whisked my sister to Paris?" Nathan laughed, unfazed. "Guilty. She's pretty special." Amara blushed, ushering them to sit. Nathan glanced around the modest living room, with family photos on the walls. "Nice place," he said sincerely. "It feels like a home." Amara's self-consciousness eased. "It's not much," she said. But Nathan shook his head. "It's real. That's what matters." They walked to a local diner, a family-owned spot where the staff knew Amara by name. The booths were worn, the menu simple, but the warmth was undeniable. Nathan settled across from her, his ease surprising her. "This is perfect," he said, scanning the menu. "I spend too much time in overpriced restaurants. This is better." Amara raised an eyebrow, teasing. "You sure? No caviar here." Nathan's laugh was warm. "I'll survive. I'd rather be here with you." Over burgers and milkshakes, they talked about their days apart. Nathan shared the challenges of returning to Brooks Tech, filling the void left by Eric's death. "He was the creative spark," he said. his voice tinged with grief. I'm trying to honor that and find a new path. Amara nodded, understanding. My patients keep me going. You fight for them, even when it's hard, like you're fighting for Eric's vision. Nathan's eyes softened. You get it. You make me want to be better, Amara. As they walked back to her apartment, hand in hand, the New Jersey night felt softer, the stars above echoing their pendants. Nathan pulled her close at her door, his kiss tender yet full of promise. When can I see you again? He asked, his voice husky. I'm off this weekend, Amara said. I was thinking, the state park where my parents took us camping. It's not Paris, but it's special. Nathan's face lit up. Camping? I haven't done that since college. Count me in. His enthusiasm for her simple plan touched her deeply. As Nathan left, waving once before disappearing down the stairs, Amara leaned against the door, her heart full. The challenges ahead, her demanding job, societal scrutiny, their different worlds, were real, but so was their connection. Whispering to herself, she touched the pendants. I love you, Nathan. Amara felt a new beginning take root in her modest apartment, with the promise of a weekend under the stars where love might bridge any divide.